Dr. John Harris pressed his palm against the cold scanner. The ancient machine hummed to life, recognizing DNA that had remained unchanged for 50,000 years. Around him, the underground facility in what was once Arizona flickered with blue light as systems activated one by one. "Reawakening Protocol Stage 5 complete," said the calm voice of the facility's artificial intelligence. "Beginning final sequence." John took a deep breath. After centuries of automated preparation, it was finally time. Humanity would walk among the stars again. "Proceed," he said simply. Across the planet, in hundreds of similar facilities hidden beneath mountains, oceans, and deserts, thousands of sleep pods began their warming cycle. Humanity was coming back from its long slumber. John walked through the central chamber where row after row of pods contained the first batch of humans scheduled to awaken. These were the specialists, scientists, linguists, military personnel, and diplomats who would help restart human civilization. The rest of humanity, billions of them, remained in deep hibernation facilities spread throughout the solar system, waiting for their turn. One pod in particular drew his attention. The readout showed its occupant was already at 98% consciousness recovery. Susan Miller, chief historian. He needed her knowledge first. As he watched, the pod's transparent cover slid open with a gentle hiss. The woman inside slowly opened her eyes, blinking at light she hadn't seen in thousands of years. "Did we make it?" she asked, her voice raspy from disuse. John helped her sit up. "Yes, the timers worked perfectly. It's been exactly 50,000 years, 3 months, and 17 days since the Great Sleep began." Susan nodded. "And the galaxy? Any signs of new civilizations?" "Many," John replied. "The monitoring systems never stopped watching. Just as we hoped, life has flourished. There are at least 30 species that have achieved spaceflight. 8 of them have formed something called the Zolaxian Alliance." Susan swung her legs over the side of the pod. "Have they found us yet?" "Actually, they're on their way now. Long-range sensors detected their ships entering the solar system 3 days ago. That's why I initiated the final sequence ahead of schedule." Miles above them in the cold vacuum of space, Admiral Nevtok of the Zolaxian fleet studied the blue-green planet on his view screen. His gray skin shimmered under the lights of the command bridge as he folded his forearms in satisfaction. "A beautiful world," he commented to his science officer. "Preliminary scans show abundant resources and only primitive technology. The locals appear to have basic spaceflight capabilities, but nothing that could challenge our ships." The science officer, a tall female named Zelra, frowned at her readings. "There's something strange, Admiral. I'm detecting energy signatures unlike anything I've seen before, primarily coming from the third planet's moon and scattered locations on the planet's surface." "Old technology from a pre-space age, perhaps," suggested the Admiral. "Unlikely. The energy readings are too stable, too perfect, and there's very little communication traffic for a populated world." Nevtok waved a dismissive hand. "Prepare the first contact protocols. The High Council wants this system secured quickly. The Zolaxian Alliance needs the resources these planets offer." In orbit around Earth, ancient defense systems silently tracked the approaching alien fleet. Dormant for millennia, the orbital platforms began powering up one by one. Their presence, disguised as natural satellites and space debris, remained undetected by the alien scanners. Back in the Arizona facility, Susan was accessing the central memory banks. Holographic displays showed her the history of humanity's rise to power, their golden age of exploration, and finally their controversial decision to enter hibernation. "They still don't understand what they found, do they?" she asked, watching footage of the alien ships. John shook his head. "They think we're primitive. Their scans can't penetrate our stealth technology. They have no idea they're looking at the oldest civilization in the galaxy." In another chamber, Alan Wright opened his eyes to a world he hadn't seen in 50 millennia. As captain of the Earth Defense Force, his awakening had been scheduled immediately after the detection of alien vessels. "Status report," he demanded as soon as a technician helped him from his pod. "Captain Wright, The Zolaxian fleet has entered lunar orbit. They've dispatched scout ships to survey Earth. First contact is expected within 6 hours. Alan stood with some effort, his muscles remembering how to work. Ready, my ship. Orbiting discreetly in higher Earth orbit, the massive vessel Eternal Horizon awaited its captain. To alien eyes, it appeared as nothing more than a small moon fragment, a leftover from some ancient collision. On the Zolaxian command ship, excitement spread through the crew. This would be their 7th first contact with a new species, but Earth seemed especially promising. Rich in metals, water, and organic compounds, it represented a major find for the expanding alliance. "Admiral," called the communications officer, "we're detecting a transmission from the surface. They're trying to contact us in..." "Wait, they're speaking perfect Zolaxian." The Admiral's 4 eyes widened. "Impossible. Put it through." The view screen changed to show a human woman with short, brown hair and confident eyes. "This is Dr. Lisa Patterson of Earth. We welcome the Zolaxian fleet to our solar system and request that you maintain your current orbit until diplomatic protocols can be established." Admiral Nevtok struggled to hide his shock. Not only were these primitives communicating in his language, but they knew exactly who they were dealing with. "This is Admiral Nevtok. Your world has been designated as a potential member system of the Zolaxian Alliance. We will be sending representatives to your surface to begin integration proceedings." Lisa's expression remained pleasantly neutral. "We look forward to meeting your representatives. Please be advised that we have sent coordinates for an appropriate landing zone. Any deviation will be considered hostile action." As the transmission ended, Nevtok turned to his second-in-command. "How did they know our language? How did they identify us so quickly?" On Earth, hundreds more sleep pods were opening. William Grant, Earth's security director, reviewed the data coming from the reactivated satellite network. "They've already mapped most of our defense grid," he told Lisa. "They think they're being subtle about it." Lisa sighed. "They're preparing for conquest, not diplomacy." "Should we show them what we really are?" asked William. "Not yet," said John Harris, entering the command center. "Let them come down first. Let them see humans face to face before we reveal the truth. The shock will be educational." As the Zolaxian shuttle prepared to land, none of its occupants realized they were about to meet not a primitive species, but the ancient race that had seeded life throughout the galaxy, long before the first Zolaxian ancestor crawled from the primordial oceans of their homeworld. Humanity, the slumbering giant, was finally awakening, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Zolaxian shuttle touched down on a flat plain outside what appeared to be a modest human settlement. Ambassador Krila adjusted her ceremonial robes and prepared to meet these primitive humans. Behind her, 6 guards carried gifts and scanning, equipment disguised as ornamental objects. "Remember," she told her team, "these beings are pre-galactic. Be patient with their simple understanding of the universe." The shuttle door opened, and bright sunlight flooded in. As Krila stepped onto Earth soil, she was surprised to see only 3 humans waiting for them. She had expected a large welcome party for such a momentous event. Dr. Lisa Patterson stood at the center, flanked by John Harris and William Grant. All 3 wore simple white uniforms without any visible weapons or technology. "Welcome to Earth," Lisa said in perfect Zolaxian. "I am Dr. Lisa Patterson, Earth's representative for First Contact." Krila bowed slightly, her forearms performing the traditional greeting of her people. "I am Ambassador Krila of the Zolaxian Alliance. We bring greetings from 8 spacefaring civilizations." John stepped forward. "We have prepared a meeting facility. Please follow us." The Zolaxians exchanged confused glances. This was not how first contacts usually went. Primitive species typically showed extreme excitement, fear, or religious awe upon meeting aliens. These humans seemed almost bored. The meeting facility turned out to be a plain white building with a single large room containing a round table. As they entered, hidden scanners analyzed the aliens down to their cellular structure, though the Zolaxians remained unaware of this. Once seated, Lisa activated a small device on the table. A holographic display appeared, showing the solar system. "This is unexpected," said Kreela, trying to hide her surprise at the technology. "Your world's signals suggested more primitive capabilities." "We keep much to ourselves," replied Lisa with a small smile. One of the Zolaxian guards whispered to another in their native language. "The scans show no advanced power sources anywhere in this facility. They must have stolen this technology, or found it from crashed ships." Lisa turned to the guard. "We didn't steal anything, and we'd appreciate it if you would speak in the common language so everyone can understand." The guard froze. Their native language used sound frequencies humans shouldn't be able to hear, let alone understand. Kreela quickly tried to regain control of the meeting. "We have come to offer Earth membership in our alliance. We can provide technology, protection, and access to galactic trade routes." William Grant, who had remained silent until now, leaned forward. "And what would you expect in return?" "Only reasonable access to some of your planet's resources," said Kreela, "and perhaps land for a small permanent outpost." John Harris nodded thoughtfully. "Before we discuss such arrangements, perhaps you'd like to tell us about the scout ships currently." "Mapping our defense systems?" Kreela's skin changed color slightly, the Zolaxian equivalent of a blush. "A standard security procedure. Nothing to be concerned about?" "And the invasion fleet gathering behind your moon?" asked William. This time, Kreela couldn't hide her shock. "That's impossible. You couldn't know about—" "We know many things, Ambassador," said Lisa calmly, "including the fact that your databases have already classified Earth as a resource extraction point, rather than a potential ally. On the Zolaxian command ship, Admiral Nevtok received an urgent communication from one of the scout vessels. "Admiral, we've detected something unusual. The humans have orbital structures we didn't notice before. They appear to be defensive in nature." "How did we miss them?" demanded Nevtok. "They were hidden somehow. Our sensors read them as space debris, until just now. Something activated them." The Admiral frowned. "Continue monitoring, but keep your distance. Do not engage." Meanwhile, Captain Alan Wright had boarded the Eternal Horizon. The ship's interior lit up as he walked toward the command center, systems recognizing their captain after 50,000 years. "Ship status?" he asked as he settled into the command chair. "All systems operational, Captain," replied the ship's AI. "Weapons at full capacity, shields at maximum. Stealth systems currently engaged. Show me the Zolaxian fleet." A holographic display appeared, showing dozens of alien ships positioned throughout the solar system. Each was tagged with detailed information about its capabilities, weaknesses, and current status. "They have no idea what they're dealing with, do they?" Alan said quietly. "No, Captain. Their technology is approximately equivalent to humanity's, level from 75,000 years ago." Back in the meeting room, tensions were rising. One of the Zolaxian guards had become increasingly agitated as the humans revealed their knowledge of the aliens' true intentions. "This is absurd," the guard said suddenly. "These primitives are trying to intimidate us with stolen technology and lucky guesses." Lisa sighed. "We're not primitives, and nothing we have is stolen." "Prove it," challenged the guard. "Show us your true capabilities if you're so advanced." John nodded to Lisa, who tapped her communication device. "Captain Wright, perhaps a small demonstration is in order." In space, the Eternal Horizon disengaged its stealth systems. The massive ship, over 5 miles long, suddenly appeared directly above the Zolaxian fleet. On every alien vessel, alarms blared as sensors detected the enormous energy signature that had materialized seemingly from nowhere. In the meeting room, a large screen showed the Zolaxians' ships and the now visible Eternal Horizon. "What is that?" whispered Kreela, her voice trembling. "That," said John, "is one of our smaller vessels. It's been in orbit the entire time." The guard who had challenged them reached for his weapon, a move born of fear rather than strategy. Before anyone could react, he fired an energy blast directly at Lisa. The beam struck an invisible barrier inches from Lisa's chest and dissipated harmlessly. No one had seen any defensive technology activate. That was rude, Lisa said. Still, seated calmly, William stood up. I believe this meeting is over. You will return to your ships and leave our solar system within 6 hours. Or what? Asked Creela, trying to maintain some dignity. John smiled. Or nothing. We won't harm you. We've never been conquerors, but we will escort you out, and we will be watching your civilization very closely from now on. In orbit, Nevtok stared at the impossible ship that had appeared next to his fleet. His tactical officer was frantically reporting that their most powerful weapons would barely damage the strange vessel's outer hull. Admiral, said the communications officer, we're receiving a message from the human ship. Put it through, Nevtok ordered, his voice hollow. The screen showed Captain Alan Wright sitting confidently in his command chair. Admiral Nevtok, this is Captain Wright of the Earth vessel Eternal Horizon. Your diplomatic team is being returned to you. I suggest you receive them and depart promptly. Who are you people? Asked Nevtok. Alan smiled. We are humanity. We were exploring the stars when your ancestors were still learning to use simple tools. We went to sleep to let the galaxy grow on its own. Now we're awake again. As the Zalaxian shuttle hurriedly departed Earth, Creela stared out the window at the planet below. She suddenly understood with perfect clarity. They hadn't discovered a new civilization today. They had awakened an ancient power, one that had been watching from the shadows all along. News of the encounter with Earth spread quickly through the Zolaxian alliance. Within days, the emergency council of all 8 member species gathered on the neutral space station Harmony. Representatives arrived in a state of panic, having received reports of strange activations throughout the galaxy. Ancient structures are coming to life, said the Voltan representative, a tall, insect-like being. Monuments we thought were natural formations are glowing with energy. Space stations, we believed, were abandoned by unknown precursors are powering up. Admiral Nevtok stood before the council, his pride shattered after the encounter with humanity. These humans claim to have been asleep for 50,000 years. They say they explored the stars before our ancestors even developed tools. Impossible, said the Jexit ambassador, his scaled skin reflecting the council chamber's lights. No species could maintain such technology for that long. What if it's true? Asked Creela, who had been invited to share her first-hand experience. The human ship appeared out of nowhere. Their defensive capabilities neutralized our weapons without effort. They understood languages they should have never heard before. In a dark corner of the council chamber, a human observer listened quietly. Margaret Wilson had been sent by Earth to monitor the Alliance's reaction. Her presence was hidden by technology so advanced, it might as well have been magic to the gathered aliens. Margaret touched her communicator. They're frightened but curious, she reported silently. No signs of military mobilization yet. Back on Earth, Dr. Eric Johnson led a team of scientists to the Proxima Centauri system. They traveled aboard a small research vessel, one of dozens being dispatched throughout the galaxy to reactivate humanity's ancient network. Approaching the station, reported the pilot as they neared a massive structure orbiting Proxima Centauri's second planet. To outside observers, the station had appeared to be an oddly shaped asteroid. Now, as the human ship approached, lights began to appear along its surface. The asteroid facade melted away, revealing a gleaming installation the size of a small moon. Home sweet home, said Eric, as they docked with the station. Inside, the team moved through corridors that hadn't seen footsteps in 50 millennia. Dust existed nowhere. The station's automated systems had maintained perfect preservation conditions. Begin startup sequence for the historical archives, Eric instructed. Screens and holographic displays flickered to life throughout the station. Data poured in from similar outposts across the galaxy, all awakening from their long dormancy. Sir, called one of the technicians, the archives are online, and we're picking up signals from other species. It seems everyone in this sector of space has noticed our reactivation. Eric nodded. Good. Let them see. It's time they learned who came before them. He approached the main console and placed his hand on the scanner. Access historical record. Genesis Project. The center of the room filled with a massive hologram showing the Milky Way galaxy. Thousands of points of light appeared, marking human outposts, colonies, and seeding projects from humanity's golden age. "My God," whispered one of the younger scientists. "We were everywhere." "We still are," said Eric. "We just forgot for a while." At the Zolaxian Alliance Council meeting, alarms suddenly blared. The main view screen activated automatically, showing a transmission being broadcast across all known communication channels. "What is this?" demanded the council leader. On the screen appeared Dr. Eric Johnson standing before the historical archives. "Greetings to all spacefaring civilizations. I am Dr. Eric Johnson of Earth. What you are witnessing throughout the galaxy is the reawakening of humanity's ancient network. We established these outposts over 200,000 years ago, during our first age of expansion." The council chamber erupted in chaos as representatives shouted questions and demands. "This transmission is being received everywhere," reported a technician. "Every planet, every ship, every communication device in the Alliance is receiving it." On the screen, Eric continued. "We mean no harm to any species. In fact, many of you owe your existence to humanity's Genesis project. Before our great hibernation, we seeded countless worlds with the building blocks of life, guiding evolution toward intelligence." He gestured, and the display behind him showed DNA sequences and planetary formation data. The Zolaxians, for example, carry genetic markers deliberately placed by human scientists 180,000 years ago. You were not an accident. You were created with purpose. In the council chamber, Margaret Wilson observed the reactions carefully. Shock, disbelief, anger, and fear played across alien faces. The revelation was hitting them hard, just as Earth's leadership had expected. Admiral Nevtok stood frozen, watching the broadcast. His world was collapsing around him. The mighty Zolaxian Alliance, which had thought itself the pinnacle of galactic civilization, was learning it was merely the creation of an older, greater power. "Check our ancient texts," he said suddenly. "The legends of the shepherds who walked among the stars, the stories our ancestors told of gods who shaped our world." On the Proxima Centauri station, Eric accessed more historical records. "We chose to enter hibernation 50,000 years ago to allow younger species to develop independently. We wanted to see what you would become without our guidance. Now we have returned not to rule, but to rejoin the galactic community we helped create." Back on Earth, Susan Miller watched the transmission with John Harris in the command center. "Do you think they'll believe it?" she asked. John shrugged. "Some will, some won't. The evidence is overwhelming, but pride is a powerful thing." "And what about the evidence on their moon?" Susan asked. John smiled. "Captain Wright is leading that revelation personally." In orbit around the Zolaxian homeworld, the Eternal Horizon appeared suddenly, causing panic among the planetary defense forces. Before they could react, Captain Alan Wright transmitted directly to the planet's population. "People of Zolax, look to your moon. What you have always believed to be a natural satellite is about to reveal its true nature." On the surface of the Zolaxian moon, seams of light began to appear, tracing patterns across the surface. Massive doors opened in the side of what had appeared to be a crater. From inside emerged structures that had been hidden for thousands of years. The entire moon split open like a flower blooming, revealing an enormous artificial structure beneath the rocky exterior. At its center glowed a power source that had maintained the facility for longer than Zolaxian civilization had existed. "This monitoring station was established 190,000 years ago," explained Alan. "From here, humanity guided your evolution, protected your world from cosmic threats, and watched you grow. We built it before your kind had even developed agriculture." In the council chamber, the Zolaxian representatives watched in stunned silence as their most fundamental beliefs crumbled. Their moon, a constant in their sky since before recorded history, was artificial. "The legends were true," whispered Kreela. "The old stories about the moon being the eye of the gods watching over us, they were actually true." Margaret Wilson finally dropped her cloak of invisibility, causing gasps of shock as she appeared among the council members. There's more, she said calmly. Much more. And we're ready to share it all with you. The question is, are you ready to listen? 1 week after the revelations shocked the galaxy, representatives from 23 spacefaring civilizations gathered on a neutral space station to form what they called the Galactic Council. Though hastily arranged, this meeting would shape the future relationship between humanity and the younger species. Paul Davidson, a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes, represented Earth. He stood alone at the center of the circular chamber, facing alien diplomats from worlds scattered across thousands of light years. "We thank you for agreeing to this meeting," Paul began. "Humanity understands the shock our return has caused. We are here to answer your questions and address your concerns." A representative from the Krell Empire, a reptilian species known for their directness, spoke first. "How do we know you won't simply conquer us all? Your technology clearly surpasses our combined forces." Paul smiled gently. "If conquest was our goal, we would have done it long ago. We could have prevented your civilizations from ever developing. Instead, we stepped back and allowed you to grow independently." "Why?" asked the Voltan ambassador. "Why create us only to abandon us?" "We didn't abandon you," Paul explained. "We gave you freedom. 50,000 years ago, humanity reached a crossroads. Our technology had advanced to the point where we could control the development of all life in the galaxy. Some thought we should continue guiding evolution directly. Others believed we should let nature take its course." He paused, looking around the room. "We compromised. We would enter a great hibernation, allowing younger species to develop on their own. But we left monitoring systems in place to ensure no extinction-level events would threaten your survival." As Paul spoke, more human outposts across the galaxy continued to reactivate. On Earth, Karen Phillips, the chief strategist for humanity's reemergence, monitored the reactions of various alien civilizations. "Most seem cautiously accepting," she told John Harris. "But there's a faction of the Zalaxian military that's taking it badly. They've moved ships to their outer colonies and are refusing communication." John frowned. "They're the most proud of the younger species. Finding out they were essentially created by another civilization must be difficult to accept." Karen nodded. "We're tracking a General Zaxel. He's gathered several battleships and appears to be heading toward our Mars outpost. Should we alert Captain Wright?" Karen shook her head. "No need. The automated defenses will handle it. Let's see how they respond when they realize just how advanced those defenses are." Near Mars, General Zaxel commanded his fleet from the bridge of the Zolaxian warship Conqueror. His forearms were tensed as he addressed his officers. "These humans are lying," he insisted. "No species could be this advanced. They've simply discovered the technology of the true precursors and are claiming it as their own." His second-in-command looked uncertain. "But the evidence, General. The genetic markers in our own DNA, the artificial moon, fabrications," Zaxel shouted. "And we will prove it by taking their Mars outpost. Their deception will be revealed when we capture their so-called ancient technology." The Zolaxian fleet approached Mars, weapons charged. From orbit, the red planet appeared quiet and undefended. Deep scans showed a small human facility on the surface with minimal energy readings. "See?" said Zaxel triumphantly. "No defenses, no great power. Prepare landing parties." As the Zolaxian ships entered Mars orbit, a strange ripple passed through space. Suddenly, hundreds of small objects detached from the Martian surface, objects that had appeared to be nothing more than rocks. Before the Zolaxian crews could react, the objects surrounded their ships. No weapons fired. No communications were attempted. Instead, each Zolaxian vessel simply lost power, their engines and weapons going silent simultaneously. On the Conqueror, General Zaxel watched in horror as his mighty warship drifted helplessly. Emergency lights cast an eerie glow across the bridge. "What happened?" he demanded. "Restore power immediately." His engineers worked frantically, but to no avail. "It's impossible, General. Something has neutralized all our systems without damaging them. It's as if the power simply decided to stop flowing." A hologram appeared on the bridge, a human woman in a simple uniform. General Zaxel, I am Dr. Nancy Rogers, director of the Mars Outpost. Your ships have been temporarily disabled by our defense system. No one has been harmed and no permanent damage has been done to your vessels. Zaxel stared at the hologram, his pride crumbling. How? We detected no weapons. Because they aren't weapons in the way you understand them, Nancy explained. The system simply convinced your power sources to take a brief rest. Your ships will regain function once you leave Mars orbit. Back at the Galactic Council meeting, news of the failed Zolaxian attack reached the gathered representatives. Many expected humanity to respond with anger or military action. Instead, Paul Davidson continued calmly. We understand that some will resist accepting the truth. General Zaxel's ships have been disabled without casualties. They will be allowed to return home once they leave Mars orbit. The Krell representative leaned forward. You could destroy them, yet you show mercy. Of course, said Paul. They are, in many ways, our children. We don't blame them for their reaction. Change is difficult, especially when it challenges your understanding of your place in the universe. To demonstrate humanity's goodwill, Paul activated a holographic display showing medical data. As a gesture of cooperation, we offer these genetic treatments. Several species in this room suffer from specific diseases, side effects of our early evolutionary guidance. These treatments will correct those errors. The alien representatives murmured in surprise as they recognized treatments for illnesses that had plagued their people for generations. The Tellurian plague that kills thousands of Voltan children each year, said their ambassador in wonder. You have a cure? Paul nodded. We do. It was an unexpected mutation caused by one of our early genetic markers. We've always had the cure, and now we share it freely. On Earth, more humans continued to awaken from hibernation. Science teams worked to update their knowledge of the galaxy, studying how each seeded species had developed during humanity's long sleep. Susan Miller met with Lisa Patterson in the Arizona facility's garden. It's going better than expected, Susan said. Only the Zolaxians have responded with hostility. Lisa nodded. Pride is their defining trait. We designed them that way, ambitious, driven. We just didn't expect them to form an alliance and begin expanding so quickly. Do you think they'll accept us eventually? Most already have, Lisa replied. Zaxel's faction is small and losing support by the hour. The evidence is simply too overwhelming to deny. In orbit around Mars, the Zolaxian ships drifted silently. On the Conqueror's bridge, General Zaxel had fallen silent, staring at the screen showing the surface of Mars. There, clearly visible now that he knew what to look for, were structures that matched ancient Zolaxian religious symbols, the exact same patterns found in their oldest temples. His second-in-command approached cautiously. General, we have confirmation from our historians. The symbols on the Mars surface match our sacred texts exactly. Texts written 10,000 years ago. Zaxel closed all four of his eyes. Order the fleet to withdraw from Mars orbit. We're going home. As the Zolaxian ships retreated, their power systems came back online. The Conqueror turned away from Mars, its proud general finally accepting what his ancestors had always known. They were not the first, not the greatest power among the stars. That title belonged to humanity, who had walked the void when his people were still learning to make fire. 1 month after humanity's return shocked the galaxy, a new era of cooperation began to take shape. In a grand ceremony held in Earth orbit, Director Frank Murphy activated the Stellar Concordance, an initiative designed thousands of years ago for this very moment. Leaders and representatives from over 30 alien civilizations watched as Frank addressed the gathered assembly from the observation deck of the massive space station Harmony. Today marks the beginning of a new chapter for all our peoples, he said, his voice calm and measured. Humanity did not awaken to reclaim dominance or to rule over you. We awakened to welcome you as equals into the galactic community we once helped to seed. The observation deck offered a spectacular view of Earth below. Many alien representatives saw the blue planet for the first time, the homeworld of their mysterious creators. The stellar concordance will offer technological, medical, and scientific exchange between all member species, Frank continued. Each civilization brings unique perspectives and innovations. Together, we can achieve far more than any single species could alone. Most of the Zolaxian alliance had accepted the new reality and joined the concordance. However, a small faction led by Admiral Nevtok's successor had retreated to the outer systems, refusing to acknowledge human authority. They called themselves the Free Zolaxian Fleet and maintained that humans were simply using technology they had discovered, not created. Frank addressed this directly. To those who still doubt or fear us, our hands remain extended in friendship. The Free Zolaxian Fleet and any others who wish to remain independent may do so. We respect your choice and will not interfere with your development. On Earth, millions, more humans continued to awaken from hibernation. Cities that had lain dormant for 50,000 years came back to life as their inhabitants returned. The planet bloomed with activity, though humanity's numbers remained carefully controlled to maintain balance with nature. Dr. Nancy Rogers led a special tour of the Genesis Archive, a vast repository of knowledge about humanity's seeding of life throughout the galaxy. Alien scientists and historians followed her through the enormous facility, their expressions showing wonder and occasional shock at the scope of human achievement. This section contains the original genetic templates for each species we guided, Nancy explained, gesturing to a wall of glowing data storage units. Your entire evolutionary history is preserved here, from single-celled organisms to your current forms. A Voltan scientist raised a multi-jointed limb. You planned exactly what we would become? Nancy shook her head. Not exactly. We set certain parameters and introduced key adaptations, but we allowed for natural variation and evolutionary response to your environments. We never wanted to create copies of ourselves, but to foster unique, diverse, intelligent life. She led them to the next chamber, where a massive holographic display showed planets being transformed. This is perhaps our greatest achievement before the hibernation, planetary engineering. The aliens watched as dead worlds were shown changing, over centuries developing atmospheres, oceans, and eventually life. Many of your colonies today exist on worlds we prepared long ago, Nancy continued. Some were barren rocks that we transformed into garden worlds. Others were gas giants we compressed and solidified. In another part of the solar system, Captain Alan Wright prepared for a historic mission. The Eternal Horizon had been joined by ships from 7 alien fleets to form an exploratory armada, unlike any seen before. Alan stood on the bridge, looking at the alien captains who would accompany him. Our destination is the Galactic Core. There, humanity began its greatest project before entering hibernation, a Dyson sphere to harness the energy of the supermassive black hole. The alien captains exchanged glances of disbelief. Such a structure would require technology and resources beyond anything they could imagine. The framework has been under construction for over 50,000 years, Alan explained. Automated systems have continued the work while we slept. Now, with the combined knowledge and resources of all our civilizations, we can complete it within a century. One of the alien captains, a Krell commander, stepped forward. Why share this with us? Such power could have been yours alone. Alan smiled. Because that was never our goal. We could have dominated the galaxy forever if that was what we wanted. Instead, we chose to step back and allow you all to develop, to see what unique perspectives and innovations you would bring. The joint fleet departed for the Galactic Core, a symbolic journey representing the new unified future for all species. Back on the Zolaxian homeworld, Ambassador Kreela stood beside Susan Miller on a high balcony overlooking the capital city. Below them, humans and Zolaxians mingled in the streets, sharing knowledge and culture. There's something I still don't understand, said Kreela. If your people were so advanced, why enter hibernation at all? Why not continue to guide us directly? Susan looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. Because true wisdom includes knowing when to step back. 50,000 years ago, we faced a crisis of purpose. We had spread across the galaxy, engineered planets, created life. What next? Some wanted to move to other galaxies, Others wanted to continue controlling the evolution of the species we had created. She pointed to a Zalaxian child playing with a human child in the plaza below. But our wisest leaders recognized that true creation means allowing independence. Like parents who must let their children make their own choices, we had to let the younger species find their own path. Kreela nodded slowly. Your creation myths mentioned this. The old stories say the gods withdrew so that we might know ourselves. Exactly, said Susan. And now we've returned not as gods but as fellow travelers. The galaxy faces challenges that will require all our combined wisdom and technology. The eventual expansion of stars, the movement of potentially dangerous, cosmic objects maintaining the balance of life across thousands of worlds. As Susan spoke, automated systems throughout the galaxy continued their work. On dozens of barren planets, terraforming processes accelerated, creating new worlds for the overcrowded younger species. Ancient human monitoring stations tracked and diverted asteroids and comets that might threaten inhabited worlds. Research. Outposts analyzed cosmic phenomena and shared the data freely with all member species of the Concordance. In Earth orbit, a museum ship prepared to open its doors to the first alien visitors. The vessel was humanity's first faster-than-light ship, preserved for over 200,000 years as a reminder of how far they had come. And in a quiet garden on Earth, Dr. John Harris met with a group of children, some human, some alien, to tell them the story of humanity's first journey to the stars. We were once like you, he told them, looking up at the night sky and wondering what was out there. Our journey began with simple rockets, then ships that could reach nearby planets, and finally vessels that could cross the vast distances between stars. A young Zalaxian child raised all four hands. And then you made us? John smiled. Eventually, yes. But first we had to learn about ourselves. We made many mistakes. We fought wars, damaged our planet, nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. But we learned, we grew, and we came to understand that the greatest achievement isn't conquering or controlling. It's creating and nurturing. As night fell across Earth, the lights of reawakened cities glowed softly. Humanity had returned, from its long slumber not as conquerors but as guides and partners. The younger species of the galaxy, who had once feared the revelation of humanity's true nature, now embraced the ancient civilization that had given them life and then the freedom to grow. The stars themselves seemed brighter somehow, as if celebrating the reunion of the Creator with its creations and the promise of what they would build together in the eons to come.